Hello, everyone. Welcome to TALRadio. This is me, RJ Saankhya, hosting through the interview today. Watching a lot of American young adult shows, I've always wondered what teachers and parents could do to help kids stay away from indulging in drugs. And at a point when I thought there might not be a real solution to it, I came across this wonderful nonprofit organization. So today, I have the honor of shining a spotlight on a truly remarkable NGO. And I'm thrilled to introduce you to the DARE, American International NGO. So DARE stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education, and it is an American international NGO that focuses on providing drug prevention education to children and adolescents. Through its comprehensive programs, DARE endeavors to mold the minds and hearts of children and adolescents, equipping them with knowledge, skills, and unwavering resolve to navigate the treacherous path of drug temptation. So, to guide us through this wonderful organization today, we have our special guest, S.Osborn, Western Regional Director of DARE. And he is a highly accomplished leader known for his strategic vision and exceptional leadership skills. With extensive experience and track record of success, Osborne is dedicated to driving positive change and making a lasting impact in kids and teenagers' lives. So today, I take the honor of welcoming him to our Tal Radio to share his insights, expertise, and inspiring journey with all of us. So let's welcome Dennis Osborne. Hi, Dennis. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about DARE, get the message
Thank
out
you.
there.
Thank you. We are glad that you took some time for us and you're here to share stuff with us. So I'm really glad you're doing that. Yeah. So can we start talking about a little bit about your role as the Western Regional Director and also the responsibilities it entails?
Yeah, thanks. So as there's 5 regional directors in the United States, and we all have between 9 and 11 states that we're responsible for. And really, our main goal is to talk with law enforcement leaders, sheriffs or chiefs, even some military leaders, and then, of course, the school leaders, superintendents or principals of schools, to make sure they understand, the DARE today is very different from the original DARE. In fact, DARE just celebrated its 40th anniversary on April 20th last month. So it's been around a very, very long time. It's really the leader in prevention. But our job really as regional directors is to grow the program and also to retain the programs that we currently have. And really the challenge, and that's why I love opportunities such as this, is there's a stigma about DARE that it doesn't work. And there were studies that were done back in the 1990s about DARE, and that was the original curriculum, 17 lesson curriculum, which DARE went away from in 2009 for the middle school curricula, and in 2013 or 2013 for the elementary curriculum, and that's called Keeping It Real. And the Keeping It Real curriculum is what we currently use today. And I'm really happy to say that the studies on the Keeping It Real curriculum have proved very effective. So sometimes, that's really my biggest message when I get opportunities such as this, is to say, the DARE program today is very different from the original one. As far as curricula, the point of it is still prevention for youth.
Wonderful. So my next question would be, what are the primary goals and objectives of DARE, and how do you guys work towards it?
Yeah, the goal of DARE is just to teach kids safe decision-making skills for a healthy life. It all boils down to really getting the kids to understand what they're putting in their bodies, what the risks and consequences of those are. It's not a lecture-based curriculum anymore. It's not fear-based. It really is educational. And the role of the DARE officer in the classroom really is to guide the kids to come up with some of these answers and strategies on their own, with, of course, guidance and the research right there for them. We use a website, a neutral website called Monitoring the Future. And that's where all of our statistics are pulled from when we do talk about statistics, such as, for example, we're doing a lesson on tobacco and nicotine. We'll talk about, how many deaths nicotine will cause, nicotine-related deaths in the United States every year, tobacco-related deaths. And those are pulled from the Keeping It Real, from the Monitoring the Future. And so between the statistics and then the strategies that we go over with the kids and their decision-making skills, that's really the whole goal, is for them to make an educated decision and a healthy one.
Great. So can you highlight some of the notable achievements or initiatives that D.A.R.E has accomplished over the years?
Yeah, I mean, we still are training a lot of officers. For example, 2022, right coming out of the pandemic, really, with COVID and everything, we still had 212 new D.A.R.E programs throughout the country. And that represented 39 states, and 920 new D.A.R.E officers were trained in 43 trainings. So, that's a huge accomplishment, and we're on our way to match those numbers again for this year. And probably another thing that a lot of people don't understand about D.A.R.E is, like you said at the beginning on the introduction, we are a 501(c), a nonprofit organization, but because of D.A.R.E's, name recognition, and we do get a lot of contributions to D.A.R.E, and D.A.R.E likes to give back. The organization D.A.R.E America. One of our fundraising drives, if you will, is a toy donation, and that's typically before the holidays. And then D.A.R.E will give back toys that people, donate money for, to different children hospitals. And just for a quick list, in toy donations in 2022, D.A.R.E donated toys to the Children of Alabama, Sugar Plum Shop, USA Health Children's and Women's Hospital, Arizona Helping Hands, Houston Independent School District, Palm Beach Children's Hospital, and University of North Carolina Children's Hospital. So that's really a cool thing, that the fundraising that D.A.R.E does. Yes, it does go to help pay for the D.A.R.E trainings and curriculum development and such, but also gives back to the community. And then one of our other D.A.R.E fundraising drives is called D.A.R.E to Care. And those are care kits for, let's say, for homeless shelters, or if there's fire evacuations, or flooding evacuations. And there's too many of those to name. I took a list of them, but there's probably about almost 20 organizations that receive those care kits. So that's I think a really cool accomplishment that D.A.R.E America has done throughout the years, not just in 2022. They've done it every year that I'm aware of. That I've been on with D.A.R.E now almost 6 years, and every year they've done stuff such as that. So a lot of giving back to the communities, to other nonprofits as well.
Wonderful, Dennis. So what are some of the major challenges the organization has faced, and how has it overcome them so far?
Yeah, so I'd say one of the major challenges in the last probably 4 or 5 years is a lot of departments are struggling. And when I say departments, police, law enforcement, and police and sheriffs, because a lot of agencies throughout the country, it's not regionalized, are having difficulties in recruiting and retaining police officers. So D.A.R.E is a officer delivery system. It's a uniformed officer that delivers the D.A.R.E lessons in the schools. And so some agencies, unfortunately, have had to, stop delivering D.A.R.E just simply because of manpower issues. They don't have enough police officers in their force. So that's been a challenge. I guess when you don't have enough officers to answer the calls for service, and ancillary duties such as a D.A.R.E officer sometimes tend to go away. So that's been a challenge. And then, like I discussed earlier, that mindset about D.A.R.E not working has been a challenge. But in 2022, in January of 2022, the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, they completed a 3-year study on D.A.R.E and the effectiveness. And that study involved 9 states and 45 schools, again, over 3 years. And in January of 2022, they published their executive summary of that study, and it showed positive results in reduction of drinking alcohol, getting drunk, smoking cigarettes, vaping, and marijuana use. So that's been something that we've really been trying to get the message out to. We had a recent article also published in the medical journal on that same study. So, hopefully those types of studies start coming to the top of the Google searches and stuff instead of the ones from the 1990s on a curricula that we no longer use. So those are the challenges, but I feel like, both of them we've been able to, start overcoming.
Great. So, in your long experience, what are the key risk factors that make certain teenagers more vulnerable to drug addiction?
I think it probably comes down to that peer pressure. Kids are certainly wanting to fit in and with their peers. And I think if the peers are hanging out with are into drugs, then it's probably more likely that they may experiment with that. And that's one of the lessons. So our core program is in the 5th grade and then 7th grade, or 6th or 7th grade, depending on how a middle school or junior high is in that state or jurisdiction. But we do have peer pressure lessons in all 3, the elementary, middle school, and high school. And we talk about, ways to resist peer pressures, ways to intervene, ways to, to get out of situations that you're not comfortable being in. In fact, the keeping it real, the whole strategy, the R stands for refuse, E stands for explain, A stands for avoid, and the L stands for leave. And those are the types of real scenarios that Arizona State University and Penn State, they created these lessons based on real situations that kids had reported to them. And there's, case studies. I think there's thousands of case studies that they developed these real strategies. So that's what we practice with the kids in the classroom from 5th grade on. So they're not so if they get into a situation and they haven't practiced, they're more likely maybe to freeze or make a bad decision. Where if they practice these strategies to refuse or to, hey, explain with an explanation, no, I don't want to, put that pill in my mouth. I don't know what it is. And I know that there's, fentanyl out there that can kill me with one single dose. Or if they know there's going to be a party where there are drugs and alcohol, they can just avoid going to that or leave. But that's really, the strategies really do help kids with real life situations before they actually face them. They're already practiced them in a group and they realize they have options and they have, different ways to avoid or leave situations. So I think that's, really kids are susceptible, and especially in this day and age with, of course, we have legalization of, marijuana and other drugs that were certainly illegal when I was a youth. So that's a different challenge altogether. I think kids have to have this prevention education and really have to have that practice and knowing what to do in situations that they're not comfortable in.
Absolutely. So, are there any specific warning signs or behaviors that parents and teachers and peers sometimes can be vigilant about to identify potential drug addiction in teens?
Yeah, there is, and we do go over that even with our teen mental health. We go over some behavioral issues maybe that kids could face that they might see in their friends or parents or teachers, as you said. But a lot of times it's just isolation or drastic changes in behavior. There's some obvious signs of intoxication. I think you're not talking about those, but yeah, usually it's the kind of a drastic change in behavior from the way they were, at the beginning of the year. And it could be more than just drugs, alcohol, depression. There's other things that could cause that and goes on. It's just really we do teach kids intervention and to talk to the person. If they're not comfortable talking to them, we give them the resources that they could go to get their friend help, or parents certainly could call the school counselors, the school D.A.R.E officer, the school resource officer, the administration. There's 800 numbers for when we go into the mental health stuff. We have an enhancement lesson called More Than Sad. Over COVID, the teenage suicide rate, unfortunately, percentage-wise, increased. And so that was one of the things D.A.R.E did with, they partnered up with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and created an enhancement lesson. And that's been one of our more popular enhancement lessons, along with the opioid enhancement lesson. But yeah, all those, things are gone over in the class, where typically the teacher is in the room when the D.A.R.E officer's in there. And then, of course, the kids, they get the information on how to deal with that.
Great. So I want to know, like, till what, how deep has this problem has seeped into kids, and till what extent can, help, or, organizations like this can really make it, reverse it, or bring a change about in this?
Yeah, D.A.R.E would certainly like to be in more communities and more schools to deliver this prevention message, because I think the more kids that we can reach, you're not, like, I guess, the old adage, you're not going to save them all, but we certainly would like to get the information out so we can try to help as many kids as possible. And I think the prevention message really is the first start. You don't want to start when they're already addicted, and then it's, a different treatment, you're into recovery. So prevention really should be the first line of defense, so to speak. And D.A.R.E has proven very successful. It's been around, like I said, 40 years. And really the most successful way to do it is the scaffolding message, where they're getting the message throughout elementary school, throughout middle school, and into high school, where we keep reinforcing that message. And that's why D.A.R.E does have a K through 12 curriculum. And I think, the more information we can get to the youth about drugs and the harmful effects that they may have, and the better off that society is going to be in the long run. It definitely is a combination of a lot of different efforts, and prevention is just one leg of those, but I think it's one of the most important, especially for the youth.
Great. So can you shed light on any future plans or projects that the organization has in store?
Yeah, sure. I mean, every year we really take the feedback from our D.A.R.E officers that are in the field, and we have a board called the Youth Advocacy Board, and those are high school kids. There's one for each state that's authorized, and we listen to the feedback from the Youth Advocacy Board. We have the D.A.R.E officers in the field. We have a law enforcement executive board, an educational board, a scientific board. And so D.A.R.E really is always listening to all these different resources to make sure we're providing lessons that are, real time and what is needed in the field. And for an example, just this year, D.A.R.E released their social media safety enhancement lesson. And again, D.A.R.E doesn't pretend to be the experts in everything, but they certainly try to partner with the experts. And in this social media safety enhancement lesson, we partnered with the Organization for Social Media Safety and created that. A couple of years ago, vaping is still very big, but vaping became a very large issue in the schools, in high school and middle school initially. And then after a few years of the enhancement lesson, the D.A.R.E officers came to D.A.R.E America and said, hey, we need a vaping lesson for elementary. Our elementary kids are vaping. So D.A.R.E created that enhancement lesson for vaping. But I don't want to say every year, but it seems like since I've been on, almost every year we come out with a new enhancement lesson. But that's really due to the feedback from the officers in the field and those other boards that I discussed, giving us feedback on what's happening in their communities. And then D.A.R.E tries to create lessons to assist the officers delivering D.A.R.E. But right now we're in the process of revamping the middle school curriculum. Our director of training and curriculum, Dr. Ashley Frazier, is taking the lead in that. We're just updating the middle school curriculum to make it, more relevant to today's age. Because like I said, that one originally came out in 2009. So one of the exciting things for D.A.R.E America is in 2021, D.A.R.E America actually purchased the curriculum, keeping it real. So now it's a little bit easier, I guess, to make some updates and such on the curriculum, or before it would have to go through the owners of the curriculum from Arizona State and Penn State. So that's exciting for us, to be able to make real-time changes to keep curriculum relevant and current and, evolve with the times. But those are a couple of exciting things, I think, anyway, for our future.
Yeah, definitely sounds like something, really great coming up. So, how can individuals or communities support and get involved with the Dare America's mission?
Are you talking about fundraising wise, or
Yeah, it could be volunteering or fundraising. So,
Yeah.
what are the ways that we can get involved?
Yeah. So our website, DARE.org, we do have a donation link right at the top of the page. And, direct donations are always helpful, as being a nonprofit yourself. As far as volunteers, DARE doesn't typically really have a lot of volunteers because, of course, everybody has to be very vetted. That's one of the reasons we use law enforcement as a delivery system. They obviously pass very stringent background checks and such. But I'd say for fundraising business owners, a lot of our fundraising efforts are setting up a booth, a table with a DARE tablecloth, for an example, in front of a business. And that's where our professional fundraisers will, do their different programs, like I explained earlier, the toy drive or the Dare to Care fundraising efforts, or just fundraising overall. So that's one way. Certainly, the public could help, is allowing our fundraisers to set up in front of their business. That'd be wonderful. Right now, we're primarily in Florida, with expansions to Texas and California in the near future, and then they'll go from there as well. Maybe in the Northeast, I heard as well. But those are a couple of ways where certainly people could get involved and assist.
Great, and thank you also for clarifying about volunteering. So, my next question would be a little personal for you. So, since you're retired, I'd like to know what it felt like to take rest, knowing that you have done such a fulfilling job in bringing a huge change in children's life. And also, is there something that you learn here that would stay with you forever?
I tell you, so yes, I am. I retired from law enforcement in 2017, and that's when I actually went through the DARE officer training. I went to a 2-week training in Maryland, and I have to say, I wish I would have had the DARE officer training at the beginning of my law enforcement career, because some of the things I learned at the DARE officer training were so impactful that I would have created all of my lesson plans on other topics that I taught during my career in the highway patrol. The 2-week training really is a special training, because not only are you learning the curriculum K through 12, but you're also learning from a professional educator on classroom management skills, how to keep the attention of your classroom, how to engage different students that maybe aren't participating, how to maybe stifle the ones that are over participating, not really stifle them, but encouraging other people to participate rather than just one voice. So that was probably one of the coolest things I learned since I've been on with DARE. And then just hearing all the impactful stories. Almost every graduation of DARE officer, I hear an impactful story. I just was at Ruidoso, New Mexico, for a DARE officer graduation for officers. And the guest speaker was Sheriff Black from Otero County. And in his graduation speech, he relayed a story about making a difference. And he talked about sometimes you don't really know you're making a difference until years later as a police officer or as a DARE officer. And years later, he was a DARE officer when he was a deputy. And then years later, he ran for sheriff, and he was doing an event. And he said, a lady came up to him and said, "I'm voting for you for sheriff. Do you want to know why?" He said, "Well, thank you for voting for me for sheriff. And yes, why?" And she said, "Years ago, when you were a DARE officer, you brought pizza and had lunch with my son. And you would notice that he was not behaving the same way he was when you first met him, and you took the time to have lunch with him, and all the other kids saw that you were having lunch with my son, and he was contemplating suicide before that. And because of your, action of having pizza with him and talking with him and all the other kids seeing him with you, it changed everything for him. I guess he was being bullied pretty severely, and it all stopped just because of that one action. And so, it's just stories like that I hear a lot in those D.A.R.E graduations, and about how, little single acts that maybe you didn't think were so significant end up maybe saving a kid's life. And then I hear a lot of times about kids that were impacted by their D.A.R.E officers, and then they decided to go into law enforcement because of that impression. So stories like that have been impactful to me, and really keep this job, purpose driven. It's really neat to hear the impact that you can make on kids and their futures.
Wonderful. That's really a heartwarming story, and should be really one of the biggest success stories, right?
Yes.
So wonderful. So before we leave, do you want to give any message to our TAL listeners right now?
Yeah, I just thank you again for having me on and let me update people on D.A.R.E today. I think that's a huge, because a lot of people I think D.A.R.E and they're thinking, oh, it's old, but it's not. It's been around because it's proven that it's been successful. And D.A.R.E America really keeps the D.A.R.E curriculum fresh, evolving with the times, and really relevant. And that's the message that I love to get out. And in that study from the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, again, very helpful for us, because it really is something new and something that we can point to, instead of saying, hey, those old studies aren't working. But it's opportunities like this that you provided to get that message out, that D.A.R.E is very different today than it was in the 1980s and 1990s, and really would like to help you set up D.A.R.E in your community if you don't currently have it. And again, thank you for the opportunity.
Wonderful. So that's a wrap. I'm so glad to be knowing about this organization, which works with such a large purpose. And I really appreciate the good work that you're doing. And you're also a very pleasant person to talk with, Dennis. So
thanks. Thank you. Yeah,
yeah,
thank you.
I
You are
really feel
too.
thank you. I really feel amazing to connect with someone who's contributing so much for a good cause. So thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
staying here.
Okay,
Thank you
have a
for
great.
giving this interview.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so hope you find this interview insightful. For more such interviews, stay tuned to TALRadio, powered by Touch Your Life Foundation. And this is me, Saankhya, signing off for today. Take care, you all.